they can beat the 76ers. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel for years?
No, not. It's pretty damn sad. Carmelo Anthony has sore knees, but even when healthy, he can't help them win these games. J.R. Smith hasn't shown up but one game this season. Iman Shumpert, your defensive ace, who's struggling as a shooter throughout his career, is shooting a very respectable 48% from the field this year, but he's your second leading scorer. Jose Calderon and Andrea Bognani, two guys that would be in the starting lineup, has been out. They're expected to be back this weekend against the Philadelphia 76ers. But it doesn't negate the fact that the New York Knicks have looked absolutely atrocious. They are depressing to watch. I haven't seen any semblance of the triangle whatsoever. They've been giving up over 100 points over the last several games, 3 of the last 4 to be exact. They've got 2 losses to the Atlanta Hawks, a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves already, a loss to, they beat the Denver Nuggets. But I just look at this team right now, and it's just sad. And you know what? I got to admit, Skip, I'm incredibly shocked that Derek Fisher has made it sadder, because Derek Fisher is somebody that I know to be, I've known him for years. He's incredibly knowledgeable about the game of basketball, incredibly composed. I believe in him. I believe that this is a guy that could grow into being a good head coach in this league. Steve Kerr is clearly doing a better job, but that would happen to be because he's got better players and arguably the best backcourt in basketball, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But I look at the Knicks right now, and I'm reading quotes from Derek Fisher, and you talking about what transpired last year and how it's going to take a while to change the culture and do all of this, do all of that, basically calling out Mike Woodson, the former head coach. Now, he did win 37 games last year, which had a lot to do with him being gone. But I would remind Derek Fisher, this is the same man that won 54 games and guided the Knicks to the semifinals of the Eastern Conference playoffs the year before that, not to mention proper professional decorum as it pertains to not pointing the finger at a predecessor of yours. This ain't politics, it's basketball. We expect that from politicians because they believe that's how they can get reelected or get their party officials reelected. This is basketball. You have the Knicks job now. Focus on the job at hand because this team stinks. I hope they get better. You know I'm a lifelong Knicks fan, but Skip, I'm getting depressed. It's really, really hard to watch them. There's no rhyme or reason, it appears, to what they're doing. It seems to be too much one-on-one. The ball movement that I was looking for, the floor spacing, doesn't seem to be there. And on top of it all, Carmelo Anthony's frustration appears to be growing, which is a good thing. J.R. Smith is talking about how it's not fun. Maybe he should look at his game to see why. Amari Stoudemire is not making a difference, even though he's healthier this year than he's been in years past. There seems to be no light at the end of this tunnel. The New York Knicks look disastrous. And I'm trying to tell you right now, man, I mean, when it comes to watching them, I might entertain taking some Prozac. I mean, it's just bad. It's just bad. And I need help because it ain't funny to me, man. It's bad. It's just bad.
Okay, in all seriousness, is your gut telling you that they're going to lose at home to the woeful 76ers tomorrow night?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say this. I would think they'd lose if they were in Philly. I don't think they're going to lose at the Garden to the Sixers. But if they were in Philly, even though Philly is 0-11 and look like the quintessential D-League infiltrating the NBA, and I'm talking about an organization in the Philadelphia 76ers, Michael Carter-Williams. Listen closely. I am not talking about the players. I know the players play hard. I know you try your best. I'm saying that the organization needs to do a better job of getting players around this kid. You know what? At least they've played hard. I watched them lose by 53 points and then come out the next night and almost beat Houston.
Yep.
I look at the New York Knicks. They seem to be inventing new ways to lose basketball games, and there are veterans on this squad. There is no excuse for this level of ineptitude. It is embarrassing, man, and it's just very, very sad. And I'm rooting for Derek Fisher because I got love for him. I've known him for years. But he needs to focus on this team and stop talking about or alluding to what Mike Woodson didn't do or didn't have. Mike Woodson had a winning record as the head coach of the New York Knicks. He just had a bad season last year. In the case of Derek Fisher, you've got to prove you can coach. not really point the finger as to why you're not proving that you can coach right now. That's the bottom line, and that's what needs to be focused on.
Okay, I will agree with you on one point. I did watch the Sixers play at San Antonio, what was it, a couple of weeks ago? They played hellacious hard in that game from start to finish, and they kept it reasonably competitive. So on a nightly basis, I'm seeing the 76ers play harder than the New York Knicks play for
so far.
Yeah, so far. Okay, now let me try to lift your spirits. When we made our preseason predictions, who did I term the key addition for your New York Knicks? Jose Calderon, right?
Calderon, yes, you did.
Now,
he hasn't played yet.
Well, he hadn't played. And Derek Fisher was quoted as saying before opening night, I think he'll be ready for game one. And now we're 13 games into the season, and he's got a calf injury that I don't really understand. He hadn't played a game yet. Stephen A., this is your new quarterback. This is the man who nearly killed my Spurs, nearly shot them out of the first round of last year's playoffs. He fueled what became the toughest test the Spurs had throughout the playoffs, including, obviously, the finals against LeBron's team. He can get you organized. You talked about floor spacing, about the triangle concepts, getting people in the right place at the right moment and getting them to understand their roles in the offense. This is your man. This is your missing X factor. So I cannot condemn your team until I see him run the show. And I'm hoping I can see him run the show against the Sixers tomorrow night.
Yeah, Skip Bayless, but Kevin Martin is not supposed to be dropping 37 points on you for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
Trey Burke isn't supposed to look like Michael Jordan or Kobe with a turnaround jump at the buzzer over J.R. Smith. When you look at some of the losses, some of the losses that's transpiring, man, I mean, listen, Carmelo Anthony is in a bad spot because so much of a load is being placed on his shoulders. I got to reach out and talk to him, gain an understanding, or to talk to a whole bunch of people with the New York Knicks, not just him. I'm just depressed by what I'm seeing, man, because let me tell you something right now. I don't blame Carmelo Anthony for taking the money because there was such a huge discrepancy between New York's dollars and Chicago's dollars, because Chicago didn't have, the $96 million available that New York, that L.A. had. He didn't want to go to L.A., but I think that he would have went to Chicago for the $96 million, but he stayed in New York, and there's this belief in Phil Jackson. And the fact is that we heard triangle, 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 but you got to have people to play it, and you have to have people like Carmelo that can rescue you